In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
This is the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Monday, November 7th. I'm Donal Ware. Just completed week 10 this past Saturday. And for quite a few teams, the regular season is over. Can you believe that? We've gotten through 10 weeks plus one, plus an opening week of HBCU football. And for some, the season is over. For many, the season continues. For some, the season continues, but not a lot. There's always something to play for, but not for a division or a conference championship. And for some, still a division and or conference championship left to be played for. Things kicked off on Thursday night. Mississippi Valley State gets its first victory of the season, 30-20 over Alabama A&M. And Alabama A&M had won 3 straight games or so, but now it's fallen back with 2 or 3 straight losses in a row, and pretty much is out. Well, not pretty much, but is out of the Eastern Division race. On Friday, in overtime, Alcorn State defeated Prairie View A&M 23-16. That's a huge win for Alcorn State because it keeps Alcorn State in the race. It gives the Western Division leader of the SWAC, Prairie View A&M, another loss. Now, Prairie View A&M with 2 losses. All PV has to do is win out against Arkansas Pine Bluff, against Mississippi Valley State, 2 of the bottom feeders of the SWAC, and PV will repeat as Western Division champs. That's all PV has to do, but it's a little bit, harder or easier said than done. Jackson State continues to roll 41-14 over Texas Southern. I mean, Texas Southern is still, so you've got Texas Southern, Prairie View A&M, Alcorn, and Southern still in that race. But again, Prairie View A&M controls its own destiny. Florida A&M defeated Southern 30-16. So Florida A&M now 7-2 on the season. 5-1 in conference play. I mean, Florida A&M would have to hope that Jackson State loses its last 2 games and FAMU wins its last 2 to get that SWAC Eastern Division championship. That's just not going to happen. So FAMU can hope for a playoff berth. 7 straight wins. One of the hottest teams in HBCU football and in FCS football. Alabama State keeping its I say slim hopes alive in the Eastern Division, but again, would have to hope Jackson State loses 2 games. Plus, Jackson State has the head-to-head advantage over Alabama State. But anyway, the Hornets defeated Bethune-Cookman 37-22. It was Grambling. State's won a couple of games here lately. At homecoming, defeating Arkansas Pine Bluff 36-10. Howard came back to a little bit of reality. Got thumped by North Carolina Central at homecoming in Durham, 50-21. So now the Eagles are in the driver's seat in the MEAC. The Eagles went out. The Eagles are going to win the MEAC championship. Howard's still in this thing as well. The only 2 teams that have 1 loss in the MEAC. Speaking of the MEAC, Delaware State thumped South Carolina State 49-17. I think that may be it for the defending champs. I just don't see how you can bounce back. A couple of losses now. The Eagles have control. Remember, the Eagles also have the head-to-head advantage against South Carolina State. Meanwhile, Delaware State still with a little bit of an opportunity. But again, the Eagles control their own destiny. Morgan State falling to Stony Brook 24-22 in non-conference play. In another non-conference game, it was A&T defeating Norfolk State 49-24. So again, A&T has won 6 straight games now. It's got Charleston Southern remaining and Gardner-Webb. Now, Gardner-Webb and A&T are tied for first place in the Big South currently, as A&T looks for that Big South championship. And for A&T, it's last year in the Big South. Hampton losing a CAA game to William and Mary 20-14. Tennessee State, wow, losing to Southeast Missouri State 42-0. This was a Tennessee State team that had won 3 straight games, dropped the game to Murray State, who hadn't won a game last year, and then lose to Southeast Missouri State, who was a really, really good football team, but didn't score a single point in the football game. Bowie State, the defending CIAA champs, in their season with a 41, the Bulldogs, that is, in their season with a 41-24 victory over Lincoln of Pennsylvania. Both teams in their season. Lincoln ends at 2-7, Bowie State at 6-4. Florida Memorial defeated Ave Maria, lost to Ave Maria 44-28 in a big game, right, that didn't really have divisional in terms of whether it would go one way or the other in the division, but really for bragging rights. Tuskegee defeated Miles 26-23 in double overtime. Remember, Reginald Ruffin was the head football coach at Miles last year. In the previous many years previous to that, took his talents to Tuskegee, who goes undefeated in conference play and will play in the CIAA, in the SIAC championship. The Golden Tigers going to be playing Benedict, who defeated Allen 54-21. Benedict now 10-0 on the season, the only other undefeated team along with Jackson State. Excuse me. It was Central State defeating Kentucky State 31-30. Shawan winning the CIAA's Northern Division, defeated Elizabeth City State 54-8. Shaw in the battle for Raleigh defeated St. Aug's 30-27. Excuse me. Edward Waters defeated Atlantis 71-6. Livingstone over Johnson C. Smith in overtime 26-20. Livingstone finishes the season 4-6. Johnson C. Smith 2-7. That was that great battle, the commemorative classic. Remember, December 27th, 1892, the first game between football game between HBCUs was played. Biddle College at the time defeated Livingstone 5-0 in that football game. Bluefield State falls to Lincoln of California 20-17. Virginia Union defeats Virginia State 33-21. Virginia Union going to make the playoffs, but another opportunity for the Panthers to try to get a championship just not going to happen, because Shawan is going to represent the Northern Division in the CIAA championship. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Lincoln of Missouri continues to struggle, falling to Emporia State 35-24. Texas College fell to Southwestern Assemblies of God 47-28. Fort Valley State defeated Albany State 31-21. Both teams have opportunities at the playoffs, but like I was saying on Friday, I felt like the loser of this game would be out. We'll see. It's going to be a tough road for Albany State to make that, to get that at-large bid. Fort Valley State now 8-2 on the season. Morehouse gets its first victory of the season, defeated Clark Atlanta 20-17. Fayetteville State, we already knew Fayetteville State was going to represent the Southern Division in the CIAA championship. Another grinded out game. That Fayetteville State defense is tough. 14-6 over Winston-Salem State. Savannah State defeated Lane 44-38. It was West Virginia State getting the victory over West Liberty 42-32. So the Yellow Jackets ensure a winning season, but out of it in terms of the Mountain East Conference Championship. And Langston fell to Arizona Christian 30-27. So Langston is struggling a little bit towards the latter part of this season. I don't know if Langston is going to be able to make that those playoffs, because all of the NAIA playoffs, I believe all of them are at-large berths. I don't believe if you win a conference, you get an automatic bid. I believe it's all at-large berths. So that's a look at the Week 10 scoreboard. If you missed any of these scores, you can log onto our website at boxtorow.com, click on the scoreboard. And matter of fact, you can check out all of the scoreboards from this year and past years as well. Don't forget to tell a couple of friends about the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can find us on our website at boxtorow.com, also iHeartMedia.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch on the Box to Row YouTube page. Talk with you tomorrow on Takeaway Tuesday.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at boxtorow.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.